Good morning to you. I'm Todd Duplantis. It is a Wednesday. We're just about halfway through this work week, and you're watching Up to the Minute. We are live this morning, and of course, we're live just about every morning when HCC is in session, Mondays through Fridays at 10 a.m. Thanks to those of you watching us on Facebook Live and YouTube. My co-host this morning, Sharday Campbell, joining me from her home. Good to see you, Sharday.
Good morning, Todd.
Good morning. We've got, it's, middle of the week. It seems like this week's taking forever to get through. Does this seem like a long week to you?
The approach to a 3-day weekend is always slow.
That's got to be it. Yeah, we do have a 3-day weekend. We're off the air on Monday because it is a holiday for HCC, celebrating Juneteenth. We'll talk about that later in the show. And Sharday, you want to remind everybody they can find us always in social media and also watch us on HCCTV.
Yes, you can catch the playback of any Up to the Minute episode on our Houston Community College District Facebook and YouTube channels. You can also follow the institution on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And if you have access to HCCTV's channel, you can catch playbacks at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay, Sharday, as you mentioned, we've got a holiday 3-day weekend because of Juneteenth coming up this weekend. We've got a special guest joining us this morning who you'll be talking to shortly. Teri Cross Davis is a published poet and poetry coordinator of the Folger Shakespeare Library, and she joins us this morning. Good morning, Teri.
Good morning. Good morning, Todd. Good morning, Sharday.
Yeah, we're looking forward to hearing from you and the events you have coming up in celebration of Juneteenth. So stick around. We'll be with you in about 10 minutes. Okay, we're going to kick things off, making his monthly visit, our own HCC Chief of Police. Michael Benford's joining us on the show. Chief, good to see you as always.
Good morning. Good morning.
Chief, we have somewhat of a grim topic to mention. Uvalde happened over the past month. And several mass shootings have happened across this country. We do think that this is a time, though, to increase our situational awareness here at HCC. And I know HCC has taken an active role of trying to keep us all prepared should a situation like this ever arise.
Absolutely. And my heart goes out to the families of those that were lost. It was indeed a tragedy. So here at the college, we really want to stress that it's important that we are vigilant and constantly aware of our surroundings. And we also take advantage of resources that we have available to all of our student, staff, and faculty. And a lot of those resources can be found right on our website. If you go to the hcc.edu website, you can find, if you go to the link, there's a link that says in case of emergency. There's also a police department link that will take you to a page that has an abundance of information on several things that could help you in the event of an emergency.
And I know we have mandatory trainings. It seems like we started them about 5 or 6 years ago on active shooter incidents. And maybe you could talk about some of the mandatory trainings and particularly the videos that are available.
Yes, in fact, every year during our annual training, everyone is required to take the mandated active shooter training. And as I mentioned, if you go to the website, you'll find videos, you'll find information on the Run, Hide, Fight program. You'll find information on different types of emergencies, how to prepare and respond in the event of something like that takes place.
Are you looking back at what happened to Uvalde and really what's been going on across this country over the past month as a law enforcement officer? What are your thoughts on this? I know a lot of people have different opinions on gun safety and Second Right Amendment, but we're facing a crisis here in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to get into the politics of, which side is right in this Sure. argument. Our role should always be to protect our citizens, our community, and we have to have laws that do just that. Those situations, again, are tragic. Right. I do think that there could have been things done to help mitigate, those situations. But in the absence of that, we have to take the personal responsibility to train, to learn in the event that this happens, this is how we need to respond. These are things that we need to do as a community.
And you have other crime safety programs that you work with the college on. Maybe you can talk about some of those.
Yeah, I'm very excited to announce that I just created a new position in the police department. It's a community service liaison position. And that officer's role, her full-time duty is to go out and promote safety programs, crime prevention programs. She'll be working with different groups, teaching the Run, Hide, Fight program, things on active shooter. So it'll be a real great resource for the college and those who take advantage of it.
Will this officer be going to different campuses and meeting and doing presentations? And when will that start?
Actually, it started immediately. It started last week. You can reach out to the police department and request a presentation. We'll send someone out to do a presentation on whatever topic you feel like your particular campus needs. If it's crime prevention, if it's active shooter, if it's situational awareness, dealing with parking lot safety, just whatever you need, we're here to prepare that, to present that for you.
And I know there's also a program called See Something, Say Something. And it seems like during these times, it's a very important program because we all need to be aware. And if you do see something which looks suspicious, you need to report it.
Right. Yeah. And it's, we're going to add a little something to that, not only to see something, say something, but also if you know something, say something. In a lot of these situations, information was in hand and people didn't take action. So not only if you see something, but if you know something, you have to say something. And that allows us to be prepared and make sure that you're safe out there.
And I would imagine this includes social media as well. A lot of trouble come out on social media, and that's something that your officers need to be aware of, and we need to let you know, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We take all threats seriously. We don't take anything lightly, especially in today's climate. So it's important. If you see something, if you know something, please let us know. We will look into it. Again, we take all threats, all concerns very seriously here at the police department.
Chief, I know law enforcement is really big for the National Night Out that happens every summer, and it's coming up in August. You guys preparing for an evening with that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we will be hosting our very first National Night Out here at the police department, 3821 Caroline. We'll be pushing out flyers and banners and information. We want to invite the entire HCC community out to come out and fellowship with us. We'll have vendors, we'll have food, we'll have music. It'll be a great opportunity for you to come out, meet your police officers, meet the different community groups, and just talk and exchange ideas on how we can make our community a lot safer.
And once again, that's August 2nd.
August 2nd.
5 to 9 p.m. National Night Out. As we get closer to it, we'll be posting some information on that. Our Chief Michael Benford, folks can now find you guys in social media, can't they?
Yes, they can. You can find us at HCCPD at Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And
your liaison officer, they can contact your office to schedule a visit with the liaison officer.
Exactly, absolutely. And we're looking to keep her as busy as we possibly can. So please reach out to us. That's her primary responsibility all day, every day, to go out and provide safety information to our students, staff, and family. Well, Chief, with your permission, we'd like to get her on the show sometime soon as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love to have that happen. HCC Police Chief Michael Benford, thanks for being here on the show. Continued success, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Yes, sir. Thank you. You guys have a great day. All right. Thanks, Chief. Okay, I'm going to turn things over to Sharday. And Sharday, you've got a special guest. Why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Yes, thank you. We're moving right along to Teri Cross Davis, who is the poet and the poetry coordinator for the Folger Shakespeare Library in Washington, D.C. Thank you for joining us, Teri.
Thank you for having me, Sharday.
Yes, so many people may not know that there is an entire library dedicated to Shakespeare. And my assumption is that teaching Shakespeare looks different than when I was in school. So tell us a little bit about what the library does.
Well, the library has so many different kind of arms and branches. There's an education department. There's the public programs department, which is where I reside as the poetry coordinator. There's the Institute and there's collections. So the library does a lot. And there's also Folger Theater too. I cannot forget that, and Folger Consort. So we offer not only poetry and music and theater and educational information, as well as archival information. So it's become a repository for not just things of Shakespeare, but for so much knowledge. And it's it's a gorgeous and incredible place to work.
Well, definitely, I guess we can sum that up. Education through the arts, which is connected to why you are on this show today for the poetry series called Juneteenth, Emancipation, Joy, and Freedom. What can you tell us about this series, and what will you be asking of the poets who will be participating in it?
Well, it's something that we started doing. It's like a relatively new program, but I think it also is matched by the fact that Juneteenth is a relatively new holiday. So what I did was I compiled 4 different DC artists and asked them 3 questions. I asked them, basically, what's the earliest story of emancipation or freedom in their family? What are other types of freedoms or that their family may have experienced? And what's their experience with Juneteenth and enjoying the holiday in their community? And could they share those traditions? So I asked, like I said, 4 different people. 2 are poets, 2 are incredible poets, Melanie Henderson and Kenneth Carroll. The other 2, Fatima Kwander is an actress and lecturer in theater arts, and Halim Flowers is an artist. And so all 4 of them really give us just a variety of information and stories that they share on what Juneteenth means to them. What are those early stories of emancipation, and how important it is to archive these stories. And that's really what the role of the Folger is doing in this situation.
Well, I love the guiding questions because, to your point, it's a new holiday. So holidays usually mean celebration, but we can't get lost in not commemorating it. And it's going to be so important to commemorate through remembrance, which those guiding questions really focus on. And if I can just share that I'm so excited to hear this, because so many people forget that we are not that far removed from not having full civil liberties. I mean, my mom was born into segregation from the same county that Emmett Till was killed. So we're only 1 to 2 generations removed from not having full freedom. So these stories, I expect, should be really powerful.
Yes, they are. And they are moving. They are incredibly moving. The fact that it's 4 different people and they all have different stories is what really inspired me. And just how we get a chance to unpack the idea of Juneteenth. And when we get a chance to unpack what it means to be Black in this country and what it means to persevere, and how we have to hold on to joy and hold on to those other types of freedoms. Because one of the freedoms they explore in the piece is freedom from Jim Crow, which is an incredible thing to be free from too. And so I think it's really important that we look through and piece through the various parts of our history and lift up those stories that are so in danger of being lost by older generations passing. And so I wanted to really do that. And you'll hear some incredible stories, like Kenneth Carroll talks about his father, who remembers his grandfather being born into slavery. So some of these things, if you attach it to the idea of enslavement, it's not that far in the past. If you attach it to Jim Crow and emancipation from Jim Crow, that's not too far in the past either. My mother's family is from Little Rock, Arkansas, and they migrated up to Cleveland, Ohio, where I was born and raised, to escape Jim Crow. So these stories are stories that are American history, and they need to be preserved. And I'm just so excited that it is my charge at this moment to preserve those stories and put them in an archival place like the Folger Shakespeare Library, and have it on hand as we explore what Juneteenth means to us, and how we explore what emancipation and freedom and joy and perseverance means to us at this moment in time.
All very true. Let me snap. And on poetry. So let's talk a little bit about the artist and start with the poet Melanie Henderson, her family journey. I don't think I was able to hear that you touched on hers a little bit.
Yes, her family journey is so incredible. And the interesting thing about this is I've known Melanie for many years as this incredible poet and DC kind of just resident. And like in many ways, just as this walking archive of DC history. And so she talks about, and just to back up to say, I heard this story through a poem that she recites in the Juneteenth presentation. And she talked about a story of her grandmother, I think it was her grandmother, or it might be her great-grand, who walks basically with her grandfather's body into the DC area. And because the father, he passed at that point, the husband passed. So or he was about to pass. And so it's an incredible story. I'm not doing any justice the way I'm telling it, but I know that when you hear it in Melanie's words and in Melanie's voice, you really begin to realize what it means to celebrate a holiday like this, to ask these questions of ourselves and of our history and of our elders. But the whole idea of kind of persevering, of a woman persevering and walking her way into a kind of freedom, I thought was just so fascinating and so well told that I wanted to incorporate it into this Juneteenth event for the Folger.
Phenomenal. Excuse me. Well, let's talk a little bit about the archiving traditions. There's a line in your promotional materials worth discussing, and that line is, whether escaping enslavement or escaping Jim Crow, finding and keeping Black joy is a tradition worth archiving.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
I feel that so strongly in my whole being that we need to archive these moments of Black joy. So often, whenever we begin to look at our history in this country, it's so often tied to such the persecution, which rightly so is something we should be discussing as well. But I'd love to, rather than focusing on just the trauma, I'd like to also focus on the resiliency of Black Americans to persevere and how we have crafted and created a culture and a tradition and a joy in being here, and how we also have to lift that up and we have to hold on to those joys because we need that joy. It gives us hope in those moments where the ground is too stony to trod, right? You know, and just to bring in some James Weldon Johnson. And so we have to have these moments of joy, persevering and archiving this. We have to remind ourselves that for all that we struggle, it's important to hold on to joy too, and not just the trauma, but also the joy.
I mean, you nailed it when hope is so dependent on joy. And so we really can't let that go. To your point, we have to hold that. We have to hold on to that. And finally, tell us a little bit about Not Just Another Day Off and how it was the foundation of this program.
Right. So I've been at the Folger for a little over 16 years. And when I first arrived here, there was no Martin Luther King Day programming. So I had to step in and say, okay, let's do something. So I worked with one incredible colleague who has left the Folger, Donna Jean Ward, and we created Not Just Another Day Off. So because I'm a poet and because I run the poetry program, it had to have poetry in it. So I incorporated having poets read poems from social activist issues and themes, or civil rights issues and themes, in between actors reciting historical speeches from not only Martin Luther King Jr., but at times I've always included Frederick Douglass' What to a Slave is the 4th of July, because if you haven't read that speech, you need to read that speech, especially considering Juneteenth. I also included speeches from so many people. It varies over the years. Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, as well as Fannie Lou Hamer, and just so many more. And so in creating this program, it has grown from like 44 people attending with their families to we've had hundreds attend in one event. And we always created it as a way to not only raise up Martin Luther King Jr., but also raise up the things that he felt were important, which is also feeding the masses, because every Not Just Another Day Off program was free, available to families, and all that we asked was a food donation. So we had a really great relationship with the Church of the Reformation across the street. We'd raise foods for them. We'd also raise foods for any other organization that was in need. We'd give out those details. And it was always a really successful and incredibly deep and meaning event for me, but I also think for the families who attended, because it was a way to commemorate King's birthday, but also to uplift the things that he believed in and to keep them strong and keep them going.
Absolutely. And a lot of the so much of social activism begin in faith-based places. And so I heard you talk about the connection to the church and giving back to the church as part of this programming. So that would, I mean, you all have thought through everything. And it sounds like a wonderful event for those who are interested. When is the event, and is it free, virtual? Tell us how people can access it.
It's free and it's virtual. It will be available at noon on Sunday on Juneteenth. And you can go to the Folger website, www.folger.edu/poetry, look up Juneteenth and just register to receive the information to watch the program. And it's a free virtual event. We've already recorded it, edited, and put it all together. So you can hear these 4 stories from these incredible different artists all woven together for one powerful, hopefully impactful hour, just a little bit less than an hour of talking about Juneteenth and the importance of persevering and archiving Black joy at the Folger Shakespeare Library's website.
Phenomenal. I mean, I will definitely have this on my watch list. I encourage our HCC community to put it on our watch list. Thank you, Teri. Teri Cross Davis. Again, she is the poet and the poetry coordinator for the Folger Shakespeare Library in Washington, D.C. We'll have the info posted after the show. Thank you so much for joining us, Teri.
Thank you for having me, and you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too.
All right. Thanks to Sharday and Teri. Okay, Sharday, we got a few announcements we're going to go over. DEI professional development training, that is happening. The next session is happening Tuesday, June 21st. There's a morning session at 10:30 and an afternoon session at 2:30. They're virtual. It's Dr. Donna Davis, our DEI officer, is hosting these virtual morning and afternoon professional development training and certificate program series. The topic is gender equity, and they'll happen on those 2 days. We'll have information on how you can register in our social media post after the show. And there's a summer audio workshop that's happening in person this summer, Sharday.
Yes, there is a 4-weekend recording course, which will touch on everything from music theory, creating beats, sampling, remixing, and using Ableton Live session software in arrangement views. These sessions will be happening 4 Saturdays from noon to 4 p.m. beginning July 9th. And HCC's new audio recording studio at the North Forest campus. We'll have the link to register and more information posted after the show.
Okay, work study students, you can actually get some money for college, work in a profession here at HCC. We even use a lot of them here at HCCTV. But financial aid will be hosting on-campus work study and path to profession job fairs July the 18th through the 21st at the Central, West Loop, and West Houston Institute campuses. Students eligible for work study are encouraged to attend. Keep an eye out for an HCC email for the dates and more information. We'll have a link for registration in our post after the show. And book and supplies credits are available through financial aid as well, Sharday.
Yes, a lot of people don't know that they have the option to not have to use their financial aid at the bookstore. They could have the option to purchase their books somewhere else that may work better for them, but it requires that you opt out of not having your book credit applied to the bookstore. So there's a deadline for that. Financial aid grants and loans may be available to assist qualifying students this summer with a bookstore credit. Students can use that bookstore credit through August 1st. And the fall bookstore credit process will probably be beginning shortly. So information about the bookstore credit will be posted after the show.
And I also understand there's some FAFSA changes. The U.S. Department of Education will be making temporary changes to the federal student aid verification process for the 2020-22 and the 2023 award year. If you have questions about these changes, you can reach out to the financial aid department. We'll have their link in our social media post after the show. Summer classes have already started, Sharday. There's still another summer session, though, that people can sign up for, right?
Yes, there are still more summer sessions. There is still an opportunity to go ahead and get enrolled and get your financial aid in order. And while you're doing it, you can also knock out your to-do list items for fall registration, which is also ongoing now. Online and in-person classes are available. And if you're a new student, you are encouraged to start this process at hccs.edu/apply. Or if you're a returning student, head on over to My Eagle and go ahead and get enrolled. Advising, financial aid, and support services are available to help you get whatever you need done to get enrolled.
You got lots of time to do it. Now's the time to register and make sure you get everything in order for the fall. Fall will be coming up pretty quickly. We're about to wrap up today's show, but tomorrow we'll feature 2 more students from our International Services program. But that's not why they're joining us. They're sisters, and there's another twist. They're president and vice president of the Student Government Association at HCC Central College. Do you know them, Sharday?
I don't think so. They actually have a new crop of students that are starting. They're kind of in a handoff period. So I haven't had the opportunity to meet the new student leaders, but that is a great story with the sisters. And I believe that Student Life Coordinator Carl Mays will be their advisor, who will be on tomorrow.
He will be on the show as well tomorrow. Carl Mays making his co-hosting debut. And it's also Thursday is Virtual Family Fun Day, and we'll speak to a leader of the Houston Horde, a member of Armored Combat Worldwide, a full contact steel fighting league modeled after, we're not making this up, it's modeled after the medieval period games of knights and nobles. They say they just want to bring it to the 21st century. True story. When I went to college years ago at Stephen F. Austin, there was this group of kids, and they used to put on all this homemade armor. They'd get drunk and go out in the fields and beat each other up with wooden swords. Didn't look like fun to me. I didn't want to have anything to do with that, Sharday, but they said they were reliving medieval times.
Color me confused, because I don't even understand. Okay.
I mean, I didn't know you want to get drunk and beat each other up with wooden swords. Okay. All right. But I imagine these guys have a much different attitude towards it. So I'm looking forward to hearing from them. They'll be on the show tomorrow. Sharday, thanks for being here today. We'll see you next week.
Yes, you will.
All right. Thanks, Sharday. Have a good day, folks. We'll see you live tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. on Up to the Minute.